I've been thinking a lot about what inspires my photography and who inspires my photography, and I've realized that there are quite a few things and quite a few people that have been an inspiration and help form who I am as a photographer. So I'm going to make a couple of videos about this topic because, well, I think you're going to find it interesting and also useful, inspiring even. This episode deals with the Bauhaus art movement from the early 1900s. This era has really influenced my urban photography in particular, more than anything else. I studied photography and communication design at art college, and we used to spend a lot of time studying art history. A huge amount of time actually. And the design movement that really caught my imagination was the Bauhaus movement. I suppose it was partly because it was quite the trend in the early 1980s when I was at college for brands to use Bauhaus design influence on their record covers. This is a favorite cover. You can really see the influence here when you compare it to some Bauhaus design work. The Bauhaus movement started with architecture. The idea was to strip away ornamentation and focus on function over form. It was about minimalism, straight lines and geometric shapes, often using blocks of primary colours as well. This modernist aesthetic unified art, crafts and technology. For decades now, when I travel, I can't help but look out for colourful shapes and objects and look for well-balanced abstract compositions. It usually involves a door or a window or something basic like pipework or an air vent on the wall. I get great enjoyment looking to see if I can create abstract art from these things. Studying art history really sharpens our visual literacy. It helps us develop taste, which can lead to developing a certain visual style or a preference for a certain visual aesthetic. I very much appreciate shapes in a scene and how their weight and colour work to create balance and harmony. A good composition is all about weight and balance, and this came from studying Bauhaus art and design. What I found really interesting was Bauhaus was the first movement to really embrace photography as an art form rather than just a tool to document reality. This led to photographers looking for art and form in the ordinary. A photographer and artist who embraced this, in fact pioneered it really, at the time was Laszlo Moholy-Nagy. He looked for abstract geometric shapes in fairly ordinary scenes and created powerful, beautifully balanced abstract work. This photo of his, called Dolls on a Balcony, used the shapes of the shadows to compose a perfectly balanced composition. Note the main subject being the lightest element in the composition and the darker shadows framing it to emphasize it. You'll find this and more at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And I think museums are the best place to go to learn about good photography and get inspired. This piece of Bauhaus art influenced me to look for shapes, or I should say it made me aware of shapes when I'm looking for interesting compositions, like this one. And like Laszlo, I'm using shadows as a key element in the composition. In addition to the influence of looking for abstract shapes that I've shown you, the Bauhaus movement's philosophy can be applied to all sorts of photography, from portraits using stark light and shadows to street photography where we can look for strong geometric shapes and structure created from buildings and their shadows. Well, I hope you found this interesting. In the next video in this little series, I'm going to talk about how the music scene that I grew up around of the early 80s influenced my photography and maybe more importantly my whole attitude and outlook to image making. So do subscribe and give this video a like, and I will see you next time.